that this circle of change, which makes up our lives, is constantly turning, and although we in Newcastle now are on the dark side, we know that when we change again, we will come into the light, and that we will find beyond our suffering that there is new growth, new development, new flowering, all waiting to begin. What we have to do now in order to justify those who have lost their lives and their livelihood in this earthquake is to scramble up onto the back of darkness and then use it as a springboard to leap into the light.
Songstress Billy Weil got proceedings underway in spectacular fashion with an appropriate tune. In its 11th year, the awards night departed from normal practice and invited previous winners to present trophies. Surfing great Mark Richards, former Test cricketer Bob Holland, hockey superstar Robin Leggett and world trampolining champion Brett Austin were on hand to do the honours, and 7-time finalist Chris Watson summed up the meaning of the awards. In conjunction with the major presentation, the Belmont branch of the St George Building Society won the Best Decorated branch, while the Chief Executive Officer of the Society, Jim Sweeney, drew the winning ticket for a trip to the Commonwealth Games in Auckland. And for young softball superstar Linda Ward, a very pleasant surprise. Along with Linda, there were 11 other finalists. Chris Watson for motorcycle feats, windsurfer Chris Lawrence, weightlifter Greg Heyman, swimmer Donna Proctor, boxers Troy and Guy Waters, BMX world champion Phil Hanscorf, surfer Nicky Wood, Sam Stewart of the Knights, Craig Chapman for cycling, and Rachel McQuillan for her tennis feats in 1989. It was up to the Minister for Sport, Recreation and Racing to make the eagerly awaited announcement. Chris was delighted to accept over $7,500 worth of trophies, Qantas tickets to Hong Kong and a St George Freedom account, and the lad from Lisarow knows where he's headed. It was a chance for up to 1,000 children to dress up and let their hair down in the company of like-minded individuals. They dance their cares away to traditional Australian folk music as well as the old favourites. And if you looked hard enough, there were even the makings of a superstar. The day was organised by the Australia Day Council to get celebrations in Newcastle underway. This is the best time of the year for police recruitment, with the HSC results just released and school leavers deciding on their career possibilities. Any Year 12 student who has scored more than 280 in the HSC and is reasonably fit is eligible to enter the police force. So too are mature-age tradesmen and women, as long as they have a grade 3 in school certificate English. However, more women are wanted. Last year, 25% of successful applicants were female. This year it's hoped it will be much higher.
We have an area that we've been looking at as far as females and ethnics go. Newcastle has been very strong with the police force. We usually get a lot of people in Newcastle, but with the earthquake problem that has occurred up here, it's quietened things down somewhat.
An incentive to join the police force is the tertiary and further education courses which the force will fund.
It's a 6-month full-time course at Goulburn that has been recognised now by the Department of Education and works as 12 months accreditation in university courses to further an individual's education qualifications.
The recruitment centre at Newcastle Police Station will be opened until Thursday. The information and product display runs until 7 o'clock tonight and all day tomorrow. The aim is to educate those within the building industry of high-tech repair alternatives for buildings damaged in the earthquake. The companies have had experience in restoring European cities and have helped other earthquake-damaged areas to keep their heritage buildings.
We've never had anything like this earthquake before, and we've had so many buildings who people felt could be saved, and these people here today have got overseas expertise which shows how you can bolt things, how you can drill things, how you can seal it, how you can hold it, how you can pull things together, how you can retain walls, and the sort of products that we came across during the last couple of weeks that these people were selling, we haven't had upmarket stuff on it. We haven't had an earthquake before.
Some of these systems have been used in the city already. The injection system on Garden City's cracked concrete car park pillars. This ultra-strong bonding process will also be used on cracks in the lift shaft at David Jones at Katara. And Newcastle's Grand Hotel is one landmark that can now be saved.
Well, originally that was, I believe, was earmarked for demolition, and we were able to restore, or we are restoring that building to probably original condition or stronger than original condition.
But it's not yet known what sort of repair job will be needed to rebuild the damaged steeple of St Andrew's Presbyterian Church in Newcastle's Lehman Street, which dates back to 1889. Stonemasons today examine the spire and steeple top that fell during the quake. Dangerous sections of the 31-metre tower were removed and steel supports installed. Rebecca Skinner for NBN News.
Today's conference was told that the Maritime Authority will be a government enterprise concerned with navigation aids such as radio beacons and lighthouses, ship registrations, crew training standards and marine pollution prevention, not only the already well publicised and vital role of search and rescue. Newcastle was chosen for the headquarters because a seaboard location was the government's preference, and the infrastructure exists here to support it. Already, office accommodation is being sought in anticipation of a commencement next January. Much has been made of the reluctance of Canberra Sea Safety employees to move to Newcastle. Task Force Chairman Paul Eccles has organised a Newcastle delegation to visit Canberra next month to talk to staff.
Obviously there's a natural reluctance to change, but we are having full consultation with all the maritime associations, and there are 14 different staff associations involved in AMSA, and we've had full consultation with them, and I'm sure it'll all work out.
Federal member for Newcastle, Alan Morris, dispelled any doubts the authority will set up here and said it will happen by next January.
We have to have staff located up here by September of this year and fully operational by January of next year. Now, the task for Newcastle is to help make that transfer as successful and effective as possible, so AMSA from day one is a good, effective, functioning organisation.
From the road, the Marstons' property looks like any other hobby farm, some cattle, a few goats and lots of small horses. The granddaddy of them all is America's unbeaten super sire, Little Boy Blue. He died in a stable fire just as son Silver Blue was born. Now a rising 6-year-old, Blue is his father's spitting image. He stands just 86 centimetres tall. He is typical of miniature horses rather than ponies, with a tiny head, long legs, good conformation and bomb-proof temperament.
Well, Chris's dog died and she always liked this little horse in American magazine, so we rang it up and bought it. Oh, we really love him. He's been really what we were after.
Tiny Blue gets the royal pet treatment, being allowed in the house for a snack. He only eats 200 grams of food a day. Blue cost $8,000 as a foal. After his father's premature death, he is now worth many times that figure. For insurance reasons, he has to live in a yard alone. A visit from a much larger stallion mate prompts a little boasting and preening, particularly with some dogs and a herd of mares and foals nearby to show off. The Marstons hope to breed a whole strain of miniature horses even tinier than Blue. They've bred 7 foals, some pinpointed for big success. Little Silver weighed just 20 pounds at birth, and none of the others are expected to grow beyond 85 centimetres. The Marstons say the horses think they're human and love a scratch or a chat. Baby Cobber refused to leave during the interview. The Marstons say they wouldn't swap them for gold.
You start off with 1, then 2, then 10, and probably 20, 40.
They say in a few years' time they'll start to sell some foals. Willie Lafitte for NBN News.
Shark meshing contractor Ray Holbert says the sharks are chasing kingfish, part of a normal migration through warm summer waters. Ray's catching around 10 hammerheads each day, but helicopter surveys over the last week have spotted hundreds of sharks swimming from 50 to 300 metres offshore. Meriwether Beach was closed for the 3rd time today as lifesavers simply couldn't risk an attack.
There's been a number of schools of hammerhead sharks travelling along the coast, and today there's been 100 sighted off ladies at Meriwether, so it's been deemed unsafe.
But despite the warning, some surfers decided to take the chance.
Yeah, they could get me, but they could be around any time, you know. Just because someone sees them doesn't mean they're going to attack anyone.
Just around the headland at Newcastle and Nobby's Beach, school holidays guaranteed good crowds in the water, and the beaches remained open. While the hammerhead is not feared like white pointers or tiger sharks, it has been known to attack.
There is a risk. I mean, you don't want to be swimming in the midst of sharks, do you? It's their territory and you want to keep right out of there.
The Advance Australia Awards are made to people who have contributed to the advancement and enrichment of the nation. The Governor of New South Wales, Sir David Martin, this morning presented the award to 3 residents of the Hunter Valley and Central Coast. Peter Norval of Murrurundi was recognised for his achievement in aviation. Mr Norval was the first Australian-born pilot to fly solo around the world in a single-engined aeroplane. During the 35-day journey, Mr Norval set 29 aviation records.
So I didn't really go out looking for the recognition to any great extent. I was very happy with the flight I made. It was so successful I could not have asked for more. And I think I was just happy enough with that. But now with an award, of course, it gives me a whole different outlook on it perhaps again.
Central Coast sailboarder Chris Lawrence has also been presented with the award for his service to sport and youth. It was only last week that Chris won the NBN Sports Star of the Year award. Chris accumulated more than 10 state and national titles in sailboarding last year, as well as retaining his world #1 standing. For her service to youth, Jean Hattender of Charlestown has also been presented with the Advance Australia Award. Mrs Hattender has been a Cub Scout leader for the last 28 years and last year became the region's first female commissioner. Mrs Hattender has also been avidly involved with all of NBN's telethons.
It's not an especially old newspaper. Libraries hold issues going back more than 100 years, but this newspaper has a special interest for Newcastle's Presbyterian parish. The Sydney Evening News, dated Wednesday, September 17, 1890, was carefully folded and sealed in a specially carved niche in the uppermost stones of the spire. A personal time capsule placed its thought by the original stonemason. Faint writing on the newspaper appears to read Raymond Dumbrell, Cooks Hill, Newcastle. The church will celebrate its centenary later this year, but this chance find brought about by the earthquake has added a special touch of history to the occasion, all thanks to the sharp eyes of contemporary stonemason Malcolm Bainbridge.
Well, I was just chipping away the concrete. Then underneath the concrete there's a piece of slate. Underneath the slate I just saw a piece of wrapped up paper, you know, undone the brown paper, and there was a newsprint underneath, and it was the Sydney Evening News. I was hoping for money actually. Okay, then they wouldn't have known about it.
The clinic is run by Kerry Thompson, a former Sheffield Shield player and now lecturer in physical education at Newcastle University. He's joined by 3 accredited coaches. 130 junior players from throughout the region have attended the clinic over the past 2 weeks. During the morning, players aged between 8 and 12 years take to the field, while the 13 to 17-year-olds are coached for 3 hours in the afternoon. Both groups are trained in bowling, batting, fielding, running between wickets and wicket keeping. They're also well versed in the rules of the game, field placement and umpiring signals. But probably the most important skill that players will gain from the clinic is confidence.
There's always a handful of children who you'd like to say, those children with the right sort of coaching are going to play for Australia. There's talent right across the valley, I'm sure, and it just needs, I think, structured coaching, especially this early age, so that they can sort of maximise their potential.
Three-times tournament winner Peter Doohan practised briefly at District Park Courts today and is hopeful of winning his 4th men's title. The 28-year-old Novocastrian is top seed, but with more players will find competition tougher than last year. Peter's recent world tour has also been less successful than expected, but he feels the next few days on home turf will see him at his best.
I'm very much a grass court player, and synthetic grass is very close to it. And I love to play on these types of surfaces, and unfortunately the world circuit seems to be switching to the hard court surfaces like they've done down in Melbourne and Sydney, so it's a great opportunity to get back on synthetic grass again and play my own serve and volley game.
Prize money for the 33 events has increased to $6,000, due somewhat for the increase in players to almost 400.
And out of the blue this year, the entry's way up, so maybe the prize money's had something to do with it, but it could be it's a saturation of tennis on TV at the moment, plus Rachel McQuillan's own success, who's a local player.
Several hundred students will enjoy a few extra days' holiday. Because the main building at the junction was severely damaged by earthquake, the school has been moved into demountables. Teachers will use the first 3 days of next week to move books and desks into the new rooms. Students from there will not begin school until Thursday, and kindergarten will not resume until the following Monday, February the 5th. Wickham students will have to wait until Friday to enrol at their new school at Tyers Hill Public. A decision on their old school building at Wickham is expected in the next week. The department believes at least part of it will be saved. While the Newcastle SSP building is being repaired, students will be transferred to Waratah West, where they'll start school on Monday the 5th of February. It's hoped their old building will be back to normal by the middle of July. Because of the new enrolments at Waratah West, already established children will begin back one day later on Wednesday.
"120 residents claiming to represent the Shire's 100,000 gathered in front of the council chambers this morning, originally to protest the proposal to change Wyong's name to Tuggerah Lake City. Among the protesters were those campaigning to save trees, stop tourist development and stop an imaginary carve-up of the Shire by council, all issues totally separate from the name change. The most outspoken against the change have been 3 councillors who voted against the proposal. Spokesman for the 3, Councillor Don Small, this morning was hard-pressed to find a good reason for objecting to the change.
It wouldn't make any difference at all. It means nothing in the way of increased prestige.
The move to change names began last December when 6 councillors to 4 voted in support of the proposal. It's now gone before the Minister for Local Government and a decision is expected next month. Darren Curtis for NBN News. The Belmont course will be the venue for this weekend's Lake Macquarie International Amateur Championships, and today the world's best unpaid golfers took the opportunity to get to know the course. Current Australian amateur champion Steve Conran, who plays off a handicap of 1, showed he was in dramatic form with a 220-metre drive to put his team well into contention for prizes in the 4-man Ambrose. The theme of the day was fun, and it was proved golf definitely went better with Coke. English champion Ricky Willinson teamed up with tournament sponsor Noel Gordon for the shotgun start. Onto the 3rd green, and Daily Telegraph journalist Barry Toohey found it hard to meet the deadline and sink the putt. But Noel Gordon thought he had it in the bag, sizing up the length and the roll, but couldn't believe a 40-centimetre putt could be as hard as getting a development application passed. The 3-day championship begins tomorrow at 7 o'clock.
The suspected convict ruins have turned out to be sandstone foundations. Archaeologist Dr Damaris Bairstow concluded the structures at the centre of the Carrington Chambers controversy have no real archaeological significance. However, she believes there are important relics beneath the foundations. As such, the Heritage Act demands an archaeological excavation before any redevelopment of the site. The owners say they're willing to cooperate. However, a spokesman says the planning department is being somewhat difficult, largely, he claims, because of the sway of a small band of protesters.
We haven't yet found anybody who is against the concept of removing what is left here, this debris of foundations, and getting on with the job. We would very much like to see it removed, preferably this weekend, and then we can take it up very carefully and leave the underground areas underneath these concrete floors and so on undisturbed, so that the archaeologists can come in and sift through what is there.
While the department's insistence that the sandstone blocks remain undisturbed for the moment has frustrated the owners, its requirement they pay half of the cost of the archaeological excavation has stunned them.
I personally would fight it, and as a body corporate representative, I'm sure we as a body corporate would fight that as well. I mean, it's as simple as that. You're inviting someone to dig into your own backyard, on your own property. So surely that's an invitation, and any costs and any restoration of that backyard should be met by the people digging.
In that, Dr Fury found support today from a number of the many onlookers who paused to look at the controversial site.
Shouldn't have to pay any. No, I don't see that point.
If it is a site that has got historical value and what have you, I think it should be up to the bodies involved to put together the finance and for sure for Dr Fury to maintain and make sure it's not damaged and preserved, but I don't think you should have to shell out for it.